Hey, mathematicians, let's work on home connections, page 23, more adding fractions, okay? I would suggest you get two colored pencils with two different colors. I have a red and a purple here, so we can see the differences in the two fractions that we're adding. The first part here is showing the fractions on the strips or clocks, add them, and report the sum. So the sum just means the answer to an addition problem. So we're going to uh, color in each of these sections. I don't know why it is being so blurry on me today. Let's see. But we have 1/2 plus, and that says 3/8 if you're on page 23. So what we're going to do is take our two different colors, and I am going to shade in half of this bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, which we notice is the same as 4/8. Okay, because we have 8 total squares, half of that would be shading 4 of them. This is 3/8. So now I'm already telling, I could tell that I'm in my the denominators now are the same with 8 and 8. Okay, so I have 4/8 plus 3/8, and I'm going to shade in up here 1, 2, 3, 4. There's, oops, I did this wrong color here. I'm going to do purple on that one. So I have 4/8 and 3/8. So I shaded in this part here, over here, with 4/8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now with my purple one, I'm going to shade in 3/8. And how many do I have total now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my sum is 7/8. All right, now the next one. Okay, B is 3/4. So what I want to do with this is try to figure out if I cut my strip into 4 equal pieces first, then I can tell how many fourths I need to shade in to make it 3/4. So what I notice is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8. And then in my second strip, I see I have 3/8. So 1, 2, and 3. And then my strips up here, I'm going to shade in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with my red. And then with my purple, I am going to shade in 3/8. 1, 2. Oh, I have to come around to this next one to make it 3. So I have 6/8 plus 3/8. So I have one whole strip shaded, and then 1/8 of my second strip shaded. So 3/4 plus 3/8 equals 1 and 1/8. All right, so now my next one. Let's see if I can make that a little lighter. Maybe that will help. A little bit there. Okay, so my next one is 5/8 plus 1/2. So with my red, I'm going to shade in. It's already an eighth, so I can just shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in my next strip, I have to shade in half of this. So I'm going to shade in 4/8. I'm going to write my equivalent here, 4/8 right there. So I'm going to shade in red 5/8 up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in purple, I'm going to shade in 4/8. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an extra one down here. So 5/8 plus 4/8 is one whole strip and 1/8 of my second strip. You can also write this as how many eighths there are. So this B up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could also write that as 9/8, and we could also write the same thing for C. They're both 9/8. Simplified version of that, the proper version of that is 1 and 1/8 for both of those. 9/8 is fine too. All right, so 3/4 is D. We notice that we already did 3/4 up here. So if I cut my strip into 4 equal parts, I'm going to shade in 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. So 3/4 is the same as 6/8. And then for my purple version, I'm already in 8, so I'm just going to shade in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in my scripts over here, I'm going to shade in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 7/8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So how many total? Well, I have one strip up top. That's my hole. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the bottom. 1 and 6/8. Or we can write it as a total of 8. So I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's also known as 14/8. 14/8. Okay. All right, now the clock model. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use the clock model because remember, thirds, sixths, and twelfths tend to work a little better with the clock model until we get to our easy version of just finding the same denominators, right? Okay, so 1/4, I'm going to use my red again. So 1/4 of a clock is that much. Just to the 3, the 15-minute mark. And then 2/3, if you remember from last week, if we go to the 4 and to the 8, it makes 3 equal parts, and we're shading 2 of those. So 1, 2. So now I have to figure out how to combine 2/3 and a half in a clock model. So with this one, I think I want to start with my 2/3 first because that is more. So if I cut my clock into thirds and I shade 2 of them, okay, so that's what I'm starting with. Now I have a quarter left, and I remember a quarter is 1, 2, 3, just 3 sections. So if I go up 1, 2, 3, this is a quarter. This little section right there is my quarter. It's the same thing, just looks flipped. Now yours might look a little, oops, I did them the wrong one. Oh my goodness, Mr. Mac. Disregard this part. Disregard that part. I was meant to do that over here. So now I need to figure out how much of my clock, how much of my 12ths or 60ths is shaded in. So I know that I only have one little sliver that's not shaded in. So all of this is shaded in, which is equivalent to 11 twelfths. Could also say 55 60ths because it's 55 minutes, 55 60ths. So 1/4 plus 2/3 is 11 twelfths. So if I want to make my fourths into twelfths and my thirds into twelfths. So 1/4 is actually 3/12 because it goes down to the third dash. And 2/3 is actually 8/12 because it goes to the eighth dash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when I add 3 plus 8, it gives me 11. That's how that works. All right, 3/4 and 2/3. So instead of 1/4, I have 3/4. So this is going to be, I can already tell that this is going to be more than one whole. So 3/4, I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3. And then 2/3, same thing as up above here, minus this red part that Mr. Mac messed up on. 2/3, I'm going to shade in 1, 2. All right, so let's figure out how we can do this. All right, so first of all, let's write these in twelfths before we even get started. How about that? So 3/4 goes over to the 9. So 3/4 is equivalent to 9 out of 12 because we're shading all the way to the 9th little dash here on the clock. And 2/3, we're shading to the 8th dash, so it's 8/12. Now I'm already in my common denominator, so I could just go ahead and add 8 plus 9, and you would get because you don't change the bottom number, right? We just add the numerator. So 8 plus 9 is 17 twelfths. That's how many twelfths, and then I need to make that into a proper fraction. So let's do that too. So let's do that with our clock. So if I shade in, let's do the 9 twelfths first. So let's just go here. So here's my 9 twelfths. And then what I need to do now is make sure that I shade in this part first before I move to the second part, because I have 8 twelfths left over. So I'm just going to shade what I have left over in this clock, and then whatever I have left over here, I'm going to fill in. So 8 twelfths. So this is 1, 2, 3. So here's 3 of those twelfths. Okay, 3 out of 8. Now I have 5 twelfths left to shade in this clock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just count it down to the 5th dash there. I'm going to keep my purple because I'm on my 2/3 here. I'm on my 8 twelfths or 2/3. So 9 twelfths plus 8 twelfths is 17 twelfths, but I can also write that as 1 whole and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twelfths. So 17 twelfths is the same as 1 and 5 twelfths. Okay, let's get this done here. So G is 5/6 plus 3/4. 5/6. So remember, sixths is half a thirds. So if I break my clock into thirds, and then I cut the thirds in half, I get 6 equal parts. And I need to shade in 5 of those. So I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5/6. And then my 3/4 is the same as up here. I'm going to do it in purple though. 3/4. 1. Sorry, my camera's so shaky. When I color, it kind of shakes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's see how many twelfths we have, since I like to go into twelfths because that's how many sections are on the clock. So 5/6 is equivalent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 twelfths. Once we make our common denominator, we can just add across, which is nice. And then 3/4, well, we already know from up here, goes to the 9, which is 9 twelfths. So I can add 10 twelfths plus 9 twelfths, and that gives me 19 twelfths. But let's see what that is properly in our clock here, clock model. All right, so I'm going to shade in 10 twelfths again. Let's see here. There we go. There's my 12th, or my sixths. But remember, I'm going to shade in all the way because 5/6 is equivalent to 10 twelfths. And then I need to shade in 9 more twelfths. So I'm going to start over here. So I already have my 10 twelfths. That's what I started with. Now with my purple, I'm going to shade in 9 twelfths. So here's 1 twelfth, 2 twelfths. So I'm starting with 2 twelfths here. Now the rest I'm going to shade over here. So I got my 2 twelfths out of the 9 twelfths here. So 9 minus 2, I have 7 left, don't I? So let's go. Here's the 6 mark, and here's my 7 mark. So if I shade in all of this, so I should have shaded in 7 twelfths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did. And you could break these if you wanted to into twelfths just so you could see it a little better. It's kind of time consuming, but you could totally do that. So now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 1 whole and 7 twelfths. And that matches up with 19 twelfths. Same thing. All right, so half plus 5/6. So let's start with our half. That's easy. Just cut the clock in half. I'm going to shade that in. Now half, I can already tell, is to the 6. So half is equivalent to 6 twelfths, right? Now 5/6, if I remember 5/6 from up here, I'm just going to go ahead and write 10 twelfths because I remember that from there. But I'm going to cut my clock to make this official into sixths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my 5/6 or 10/12, same thing. Goes to the 10 o'clock or 10th mark. So now we're going to shade in. Over here we have, so before I go, remember we can add 6 plus 10, 16/12. The denominator stays the same because it's out of 12 parts, but we can add the numerator, 16/12. There's my answer. Now I want to make it a proper fraction. I'm going to shade in 6 of my 12ths here, or half, with my red. And then I need to shade in 10 more 12ths. So I'm going to start with my first clock. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the other half. So 6 out of 10/12 gets shaded in here. Here, I'll make these in so we can see those. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/12. How many more do I need to get to 10? I need 4. 6 plus 10 is 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to shade that into purple. All right. So when I look, 6/12 plus 10/12 is 16/12 because I have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But now I can see the proper fraction. I have one whole clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/12. Some of you might have noticed that 1 4/12 can also be simplified into 1 1/3. This is actually a third of the clock as well. We'll hold off on that in a little bit. All right. Hope that was helpful. That was page 23 in your home connections book.